couple things. The problem set's due Thursday. So that's something, if there's any questions about that, we can discuss. The midterm is a week from today, so we're kind of halfway through the term. I want to say a few words about the midterm. The midterm will have 3 types of questions. In fact, there may be 3 questions. There will be a sort of essay type question, asking you to discuss some of the leading issues we've been going over in class. A little bit like the problem sets. I've asked you to discuss broader themes, where you'll be asked to bring in evidence from the readings and from lecture. That's the first type of question. The second type of question will be based on one of the theoretical frameworks that we've looked at in the course. We talked about the sort of growth model framework. There was this HIV model. And the third type of question will be related to the applied econometric tools that we've been studying. We've talked about randomized controlled trials. We've talked about difference designs. We've talked about regression discontinuity designs. We've talked about data and data issues at various points. So that'll be the third type of question. So I think in that sense, the problem sets are going to be quite representative of what will be on the midterm. And the readings and the slides will be useful. I've also asked the folks who post the screencasts of the lectures to put all the lectures up now, including the ones this week right away, so you guys have them for the midterm and get rid of the 2-week lag, and we'll do the same thing for the second half of the course, where before the final, again, everything will get posted right away. Any questions on that? I don't think it'll be like literally state output, but there definitely could be like regression output, meaning there could be a table with a coefficient, a couple coefficient estimates and standard errors where I want to have you interpret significance, magnitude, and kind of make sense of things. So definitely. Any other questions? Yeah. You should definitely be familiar with the equations that we've done in lecture or in section. We talked about the difference, the expected value of y, conditional on certain things, and so you should be familiar with that. I think there have been 3 or 4 different variants of that exercise that we've done, so you should be familiar with that. One of which we're going to do today on regression discontinuity. Although I may be writing on the board, going old school here. Any other questions or thoughts? The exams are going to be different for Econ 174 and 274 also. I'm not. With that, you and Pierre will join announce down.
Yeah. So I think Pierre will be holding office hours on Monday, and my office hours are on Tuesdays, and I will have those publications Tuesdays sessions from 45 on Thursday. We will do a review of the and so we have them to talk about that.
Yeah.
This is kind of a big question.
The exam will be here on Tuesday during regular lecture time, and it'll be crowded because the attendance isn't that much less than the number of seats. So get here early, stake out a good spot. You're just going to write on the exam. So no calculators, no blue books, just a pen, maybe 2, and no materials, no like open book or notes or anything. It'll be no materials, no calculator, just writing on the exam, which we'll collect. Thanks for asking about that. Is there any other questions? So it'll basically be an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah. No, just the lectures and the readings, and the problem sets are good preparation for the style of questions. Yeah. So. They'll be roughly equal, but probably the empirical, the econometric application will be a little more, but roughly equal for the 3 types of questions. A little more on the empirical side. Any other thoughts or questions on the midterm? Yeah. It's going to be a little longer, and there's going to be some slightly different material. I think a little more challenging material, but similar, but a little more and a little harder material. So in that sense, similar to the problem sets. Yeah.
How do you recommend you prepare for it?
I would reread. I would reread the readings. I would go through the lecture notes that are posted online. You could rewatch the lectures too, but I would definitely review the problem sets and the style of questions on the problem sets. I think it's all the materials that you have. So I'm trying to be really specific here. Just study the way you would normally. Do whatever got you here. That should work. Do you have a suggestion on that? How should they prepare for the exam, other than just sort of reviewing the material? I would say you should just email Liang and Pierre 2 or 3 times a day. Especially Pierre. Where's Pierre? Especially Pierre. No, I would just say review the material. I'm not going to do anything like tricky or anything like that, but I definitely want you to understand what we've gone through and understand how to apply these methods. And in terms of the models, it's not like I'm literally going to put the exact same thing I did on a slide and just ask you to reproduce it. There's going to be something slightly different, a slightly different assumption, just to make sure you can understand the setup, whether that's the HIV model or the growth model. And yeah, so it's just going to be kind of a new application of what we've done. But I don't plan to do. I don't have exams that are very tricky, or I'm not going to pull something out of left field or anything. Okay. Great. So I'm just going to pretend you can see the screen. So if you can't follow, just ask questions. Okay. So. We are on lecture 15, human capital. We're going to focus on human capital and education today and Thursday. And really, I think we're going to wrap up human capital. So then on the midterm, we'll move on to the next topic just before spring break. And what I wanted to get back to was the Girls Scholarship Program. And yeah. I think that's what it means. We tried to turn this on every possible way. We used the 2 different cables. I don't know. They said they're going to come. So hopefully they'll come halfway through, and at least part of this will be broadcast. Of course, the actual slides will be posted, so you can go through those. But the screencast, not so much. I mean, if people want, I can say the slide number I'm on. If there's something that I say and you want to take a slide number so you can go back to the lectures or something. So this is slide 5, which is the first slide, and I'll kind of go through it. We're still going to have clicker questions, guys. So I could post them right now on VSpace, and then you guys could follow along. If you have your laptop. If you don't, you can look at your neighbors. Yeah, is that okay? Should we do that? Wow, okay, this is really kind of cool. Okay, just take me 1 sec, and then you guys can grab it. Okay. Okay, guys, so for those who came in late, the projector isn't working. I have uploaded lecture 15 on DSpace, so you can pull it, and then I can have you follow along. So maybe that's a kind of second best solution here. Let's give people a few seconds to find it. Okay, let me get started. So I'm on slide 5. So let's, what I want to get back to is the Girls Scholarships program. I'm going to do 2 things today mainly. First, we're going to go through the design of the program a little bit more and talk about regression discontinuity design. And then once we've gone through that, I want to continue discussing the Girls Scholarship program, in particular the results of the 5-year follow-up, the sort of medium run follow-up of that program. And then in the Thursday lecture, we're going to get into even more of the details of regression discontinuity design with the Lucas and MBT paper. So the question we were asking towards the end of lecture last time is, what is the impact of winning this Merit Scholarship Award? The Girls Scholarship program, again, took place in 2001 and 2002. The winners, these girls that were in the top 15% of the test score distribution, received $38 worth of school fees and cash in a setting where per capita income is about $400. So that's a lot of money. And the question you might be interested in is, does winning the award make these girls actually get more schooling? And that was one of the big goals of this program. The NGO wanted to provide scholarships for high-achieving girls so they would stay in school. And then the concern we had, which we talked about last time, is maybe it's just the case that these winning girls, the sort of top 15%, were already from the better-off families. They were already going to go to school, so you might not even see much of an impact of the program because they would have stayed in school anyway. And the question is, how can we sort of study this, given that the winners are definitely not randomly chosen? This is not a randomized controlled trial where we dropped fellowships or scholarships on people. It was the better-off students who were chosen. And the sort of figure that we put up on the board last time, and you can see it in the slide, but for those who don't have it in front of them, is if you imagine your kind of initial exam score is here on the x-axis, and you look at schooling attainment roughly 5 years laar, there's this positive relationship. The people that were better students, on average, tend to get more schooling. And that's well documented, well known in this setting, and other settings that better off students tend to get more schooling. And of course, part of that is mechanical because if you are good academically, you can actually get into secondary school. You actually pass the exam you need to basically graduate from primary school. So what this program does is it sets up this sort of threshold score above which you win the scholarship and below which you don't. And the question that we're interested in asking is, what is the impact of winning? And the complication is, if we take all the data, the full distribution here, the folks who lost, those to the left of the threshold, on average are very different than those who win. These are very good students on this side, not very good students on the other side. And given that difference, how can we get a handle on the impact of winning the program on the winners? Now I'm on slide 10. And the way to do that is to focus on a region very close to the winning threshold. And just imagine we're just going to use data in this shaded area. And oh, hi, yeah, it's still not working. So great, thank you. We plugged it in. There were 2 different wires. We tried both of them on the laptop. Thanks for coming over. Okay, great. Thanks. So we want to basically focus on this region here, and the thing that's attractive about that is right around this threshold. If we imagine that we had tons of data and we had lots of folks right near this threshold, we could literally compare people just to one side of the threshold and just on the other side of the other, and maybe the difference in their score would be a quarter of a point. They would basically have the identical exam. Exactly. So you should compare them after. So this would be comparing them after the treatment. Well, these guys don't. So these guys, again, get no scholarship to this side, and these guys get scholarship. So the outcome we're focused on is, say, the schooling attainment you get 5 years later. So we still use the same exam here because this is the exam that governs whether you got the scholarship or not. So the x-axis is still that initial exam on which the scholarship was based. But the outcome can be anything we collect later on. And then the question is, you had some test score on this exam. When we go back to 5 years later on, do we have evidence that the people who got the scholarship, the right of the threshold, are doing better than we would have predicted they would have, right? So there's something implicit in here, which is to say that, if these guys hadn't gotten scholarship, there's no reason why this relationship wouldn't be smooth. So, just to put it on the board over here, if there was no scholarship offered, let me raise the screen if I'm going to do the board here. Hold on. Implicitly, what we're assuming is, if there were no impact, even looking at the later schooling, this relationship would be smooth. Okay, so imagine the following thought experiment, everybody. Imagine the NGO offered the exam, did everything they were going to do, the way they did in the actual exam, but then they ran out of money and they didn't give the scholarship. Then we would know who would have qualified, who wouldn't, and we could go back and look at their outcomes 5 years later. In that case, we wouldn't expect to see a jump. If you saw a jump at exactly the score they were going to give the scholarship for, but nothing was actually given, that would be troubling, because that would suggest there's something else going on at that score that should be going on, because there was no treatment, basically. So that kind of test, if you think of that thought experiment, is often what people call the placebo test when they do experimental designs, which is a placebo test is something that should give you an answer of 0 if your assumptions hold, the sort of assumptions in the main model. So this is the later result, and this is like the treatment effect, basically. Okay, any other thoughts or reactions or questions on this? What is the assumption lying behind that formulation of a treatment effect, where it's this A1 intercept term? What is the form of the treatment effect, or how does it vary or not vary across people? In the back. Exactly. The assumption we're making when we're looking at people right near the threshold is effectively that there's really nothing to distinguish these people other than getting a quarter of a point right or wrong, and that's effectively noise. So it's basically like a coin flip. So we're identifying this effect basically in this range. It's a local effect, and we're going to come back to this later on. We're identifying a local effect right in the range, right around there, and we're getting the average effect right at that point. So we're not getting at really heterogeneity, or is there some way in which effects would differ at different parts of the distribution, which we'll talk about in a few slides. It's this average local effect. There was another hand up. Yeah. That's the way to interpret it. The way to really interpret it here is to say that's the treatment effect for the person who just barely won, the person who was on the margin of winning. And this is, in the discussion of a lot of applied econometrics tools, and this holds, true for instrumental variables methods, which we're going to get to soon, where there's sort of similar logic. Very often the treatment effects you estimate are for a certain population. And in this case, we're really estimating the treatment effect right at the threshold. We don't really know what the treatment effect is up here, because all these guys won. We don't really know what the treatment effect is down here, because none of these guys won. It's in the middle here, where the people who look basically exactly the same, some win and some don't, and we take advantage of that. So that's the way in which it's a local effect. And that's a limitation of the approach. Yeah. Yeah, so in practice, if you have the amount of data that we have, which is not tons, people will often use all the data and then do these polynomial controls on both sides. So you don't necessarily even need a bandwidth. You're using all the data. And you're estimating this jump. We're using all your data to get these polynomials. Now, that said, when you have lots of data, so you have a lot of sample right near the threshold, you can ask yourself, what you should do. And there are very clear trade-offs. The closer you get to the threshold, the less biased your estimates are. I mean, that's the basic idea behind going to a close threshold. You're really comparing apples to apples. But you have less and less data. So you have less biased, but less precise estimates. As you use more and more data, you have probably more biased estimates, but they're more precisely estimated. So this is like the trade-off. Usually we like to say in econometrics, or statistics, people try to minimize mean squared error, which is basically bias squared plus variance. So that gives you a sense of this trade-off. And there are algorithms you can use based on, you can basically look at your data and come up with optimal bandwidth. Like that sort of work has been done. So there are approaches that, if you can characterize your data, you can get a sense of what sort of bandwidth satisfies this criteria. Yeah. 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 Exactly. That's what this estimate is. So this effect of the marginal person winning the prize is not the overall effect of the program, because the overall effect of the program is the combination of all the incentives